Bonjour, bitches.
Zoe Rivas. I don't think there's any other main character in Degrassi throughout all of its history that I've hated more than Zoe Rivas. On my first watch through of season 13 and 14 especially, I could not stand her. In most things that she was in, it was always seeming to be her hurting someone just for the sake of doing it. There seemed to be no rhyme or reason to anything that she did. She just seemed to get some sort of sick pleasure from seeing other people's pain and just being an all-around mean person. But then I rewatched season 13 and 14, and I'm retroactively disappointed that I missed so much. Then again, hindsight is 2020, and there's a lot of information that is hinted at throughout both seasons that really build into her character overall, and you don't really know that they're important until after having watched all of Next Class. Zoe isn't a person who gets enjoyment simply from hurting people. There's a lot more to it. She's a different mean girl from what we've seen so far. She's not like Paige, who just seems to have a mean streak or has a big ego that she defends, but then also often in the same breath can turn and be a nice person and try to help the person she was just insulting. She's also not quite like Holly J. She does have a sense of superiority over everyone, but she's not the stereotypic mean girl necessarily in the way Holly J was. The thing about Zoe is she is that bully that just needs to be shown love and affection. Up until about the start of Next Class, we always see her latching onto people who show her the slightest bit of care or kindness. Miles was a little bit of an outlier because he just seemed to be okay with whatever, and Zoe didn't really seem to get that. She genuinely had feelings for him and seemed to really take to how open he is with, yeah, let's be in a relationship. She obviously felt more attraction to Miles, and that's what made it all the worse when he broke up with her, seemingly to pursue Maya. And while that still doesn't excuse what she did to Maya, you can still retroactively empathize with how that must have hurt Zoe. We don't really get a sense of how much pain she felt until she finally apologized to Maya for what she did. Because up until then, we didn't know if she actually liked Miles or if she was just pursuing him just because Maya was into him. Maybe that was the case at first, but at some point, she truly did develop feelings for the guy. And then even with Drew, at first she pursued him because he was a hot senior boy school president and he seemed very influenceable, and that her looks and other traits could possibly win him over to her side. As soon as he started being nice to her and treating her as a person and not just someone who's providing him with drugs, she really latched onto him too, enough to where she felt comfortable having sex for the first time with him. And then again, while it doesn't excuse her actions, we can understand why she tried to get Drew in trouble for basically ditching her as soon as they hooked up. And of course she wouldn't accept his apology for that. What we saw with Zoe in season 13 and a little bit in 14 was probably the aftermath from basically living with her mother and having her as the sole influence over her life. She didn't get to be a normal kid, have friends, or date, or have any normal relationships. It was always acting, have to work, have to get this role, have to keep going, have to keep getting bigger and bigger, can't fail, can't lose this chance. I mean, she'd been acting in things since the age of 6. Even after Zoe was assaulted and could not do a movie where she's abused by a guy and ends her life after it, her mother still wanted her to go on with it. She still wanted Zoe to take the job. And only after Zoe fought to stay out of it did her mom finally relent. It seemed like her mom had been controlling her life essentially up until this point, and now that Zoe's finally in school, she can learn how to be a person, how to be a good person, how to actually interact with people. That, just like she said in season 4 of Degrassi Next Class, life isn't a competition. She doesn't need to have the hottest boyfriend or the best of everything. Not everyone is her rival. a road that unfortunately led to a lot of people getting hurt. But after all of it, she came out a better person. For the terrible person Zoe was, she's now in a place where she can make amends for these things. We see that growth a little bit going into season 14 and the cheerleading squad. Now, I'm not going to defend the outrageous circumstances of Degrassi nudes. That was really a mess, and I don't like the reality bending of the whole situation to make it happen. But Degrassi nudes allowed them to really dig into Zoe's character and explore more her need for affection and need for family while she underhandedly got into the Power Cheer squad. Once she was there and actually got to know all the girls, she tried everything she could to keep them all together, and when everything did fall apart and it came out that it was her fault and everyone was getting in trouble for what she started, she did everything she could to win back their trust and love. She worked to smuggle cell phones in the cafeteria. She defended Lola from nasty comments from guys after the whole ordeal. She learned to care about people and started learning that a person's utility isn't how much use they have to her. And in order to get the things that you want, it's not going to be about talent or looks or having the best of everything. It's going to be about being a person people want to be around. That includes not bullying people, not only seeing them as means to an end. Now, that didn't save Grace or Zig from Zoe's wrath, but she was well on the road to being the person that she was in season 4. Zoe has really come a long way, and I don't think any of it was unbelievable. I really love what they've done with Zoe's character. They took a deplorable human being and basically showed them learning how to love and be loved. How not everyone is out to get you, and you shouldn't be out to get everyone else. Initially, I wondered why Zoe was the one who was chosen as valedictorian, but I see why. She's become a person that people can rally around. It really shows how much she's changed from season 13 and that terrible character introduction. Zoe's now on her own road. She doesn't need to do acting. Her mom's not going to tell her what to do anymore, and she's not going to see things the way her mom viewed the world. Oh, before I go, I want to point out one really awesome bit of character hint and building way earlier before the storyline even came up. So in season 1, we learned that Zoe doesn't know who her father is and has never had him in her life. We actually get that tipped off to us in season 13 in the writers consortium group that Mr. Yates put together, when she reads her bio about a girl who has father issues, or more specifically, a father who isn't around, and just the girl wondering, does he love her? What was going on? Thinking that there must have been a good reason. That was Zoe. She was writing herself in that bio. And we can see the pain on her face when Mr. Yates criticizes her for writing a cliche character. I just thought that was a really cool moment, and I would hate myself forever if I had forgotten to point that out. For as much as season 13 and 14 have gotten criticism, and I personally am to blame for that as well, there's a lot of good and important character moments throughout them. The situations surrounding these moments can be pretty bad, but I think it's worth just suspending disbelief for a moment, put aside any rage about Degrassi news or some crazy storm or everyone just going to Paris, for a chance to look at what they're actually doing right, what these situations have allowed to happen. It really enriches my experience of Degrassi, and I want to share that experience. Thank you so much for consuming my videos, and until next time.